The colony ship Dawn moved through the darkness of space like a sleeping giant. Inside its metal walls, 5,000 people dreamed of their new home. They had been traveling for 8 months, leaving Earth behind to build a fresh start on a distant planet. The ship was massive, filled with everything humans needed to survive: food gardens, water systems, machines, and hope. Captain sat in his command chair, watching the stars on the main screen. He was a careful man, 50 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had flown ships for 30 years, but this was his first time leading colonists to a new world. The responsibility weighed on him every day. "Captain," said the communications officer, "we're picking up something strange ahead." Leaned forward. "What is it?" "A ship, sir. Not human design, it's big." The crew fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. In all of humanity's space travel, they had never met another intelligent species. They had wondered, hoped, and feared this moment. Now it was here. "Send friendship messages," ordered. "All languages, all formats. Let them know we come in peace." The communications officer worked quickly, sending out signals in mathematics, music, and pictures. Simple messages that said, "We are friends. We mean no harm. We want to talk." The alien ship did not respond. For 2 hours, the Dawn broadcast messages. The alien vessel just sat there in space, silent and dark. It was shaped like a triangle, covered in strange markings that glowed with a sick green light. "Should we go around them?" asked the first officer. Shook his head. "No, we keep trying. Maybe they need time to understand us." Down in the hydroponics bay, 12 crew members worked among the plants. The bay was huge, filled with rows of vegetables and fruit trees. These gardens fed the entire ship. The air smelled like soil and growing things. Was checking a water pump when the lights went red. The alarm screamed through the bay. He looked up, confused. "What's happening?" The botanist grabbed her communication device. "Bridge, this is hydroponics. What's going on?" No answer came. Then the wall exploded. Metal bent and tore like paper. Air rushed out into space, but emergency shields slammed down just in time. Through the torn wall came creatures that looked like nightmares. They walked on 6 legs, had 4 arms, and their heads were covered in black shells. Their eyes glowed the same sick green as their ship. The oldest of the group stepped forward. He raised his hands to show he had no weapons. "We are peaceful," he said slowly. "We don't want to fight." The creatures clicked and hissed. One of them raised a weapon that looked like a living thing, all spines and dripping fluid. On the bridge, watched the security cameras in horror. "Send security teams. Now, get them out of there." But it was too late. The aliens attacked with brutal speed. They did not try to capture. They did not ask questions. They simply killed. Fell first, cut down by an energy weapon. Screamed and tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. Fought back with a metal tool, but the creatures were too strong, too fast. The medical officer tried to help when he fell. She died holding his hand. And hid behind the fruit trees, but the aliens found them. The creatures seemed to enjoy the hunt. Begged for mercy in words the aliens could not understand. They killed her anyway. Minyu, the maintenance chief, tried to seal a door to save the others. He almost made it. And died trying to reach the emergency exit. The youngest sent a final message to her family on Earth. "Tell them I loved them. Tell them I was brave." She was not brave, she was terrified, but she faced death standing up. The entire attack lasted 4 minutes. The aliens left the bodies floating in the destroyed bay. Then they did something worse. They recorded everything. The creatures set up devices that captured every moment of the massacre from multiple angles. They made sure the lighting was good. They made sure every death was clear. Then they sent the recording into space, broadcasting it to every frequency. They wanted the galaxy to see. They wanted everyone to know what happened when you entered their territory. Captain watched the recording with his crew. Strong officers cried. Hardened soldiers looked away. The captain himself sat frozen, his hands gripping the armrests of his chair so hard his knuckles turned white. The alien ship left without another word, disappearing into the darkness. Ordered the dawn to stop. They could not continue. They could not leave their dead floating in space like garbage. The crew held a funeral, sending the 12 bodies into space in sealed containers, aimed at the nearest star. It was all they could do. "Send a message to Earth," said, his voice flat and dead. "Tell them what happened, send them everything." The message traveled through space at the speed of light. It would take weeks to reach Earth, but when it did, everything would change. On Earth, the recording played in the council chambers. World leaders watched in silence. Military generals clenched their fists. Citizens in the streets saw the footage on public screens and fell to their knees. For 3 days, Earth went silent. No announcements, no statements. The entire planet seemed to hold its breath. 12 names were spoken in every home, every school, every workplace. Menu and people who had been strangers became martyrs. Their faces were on every screen. Their stories were told and retold. On the 4th day, the Council of Terra met. Every nation sent representatives. Every military branch sent commanders. They gathered in the Great Hall in Geneva and made a decision. The Secretary General stood at the podium. Her face was hard as stone. She spoke 7 words that would echo through history. The Council authorizes Project Retribution, no mercy. Around the world, military bases came alive. Shipyards that had been building peaceful colony ships changed their orders. Factories that made farming equipment switched to weapons. Scientists who had been studying peaceful technologies opened locked files, files containing research they had hoped never to use. Humanity had always been capable of terrible violence. They had simply chosen peace. They had chosen to explore the stars with open hands instead of closed fists. They had believed that kindness was strength. The aliens had taught them a hard lesson. Sometimes kindness is seen as weakness. Sometimes peace is mistaken for cowardice. Humanity would not make that mistake again. In orbit around Earth, the first warship began to take shape. It was nothing like the peaceful colony ships. This was a vessel built for one purpose only: death. They called it Righteous Fury, and it would be the first of thousands. The galaxy had killed 12 humans. The galaxy was about to learn what that cost. 6 months had passed since the massacre. The dawn had returned to Earth, carrying survivors who could not stop seeing those 4 terrible minutes in their dreams. Captain had resigned, unable to command a ship again. He spent his days at the memorial built for the 12, standing in the rain, asking forgiveness for not saving them. But while Earth mourned, it also worked. Doctor walked through the underground facility in Colorado. The base was 5 miles beneath the surface, hidden from satellites and spies. It had been built during the old wars, back when humans still fought each other. Now it served a new purpose. She entered the main chamber where the Terran Council waited. 50 people sat around a circular table: presidents, generals, scientists, and representatives from every nation. They all turned to look at her. "Show them," said the council leader. Activated the holographic display. A massive warship appeared in the air above the table, rotating slowly. It was beautiful and terrifying, covered in weapons that no human ship had ever carried. "This is the Reaper-class destroyer," explained. "We can build 100 of them in 6 months. They carry weapons we developed decades ago but never used." A general from Russia leaned forward. "What kind of weapons?" Touched the display. The ship opened, showing its interior. Relativistic kinetic missiles. They travel at 90% of light speed. When they hit, they release more energy than nuclear bombs. But they leave no radiation, no poison, just destruction. "How many can each ship carry?" asked a woman from Japan. 500. The room fell silent. Continued. We also have quantum displacement drives. They let ships move vast distances instantly. We've been using slow drives for years, taking months to travel between stars. We did this on purpose. We wanted to seem harmless. Why? Someone asked. Because we were afraid, said simply. Afraid of becoming conquerors, afraid of becoming the monsters. So we hid our strength and showed only peace. She paused. The aliens mistook that for weakness. Admiral stood up. He was a tall man with a face earned in the last Earth War 40 years ago. We have more than ships and weapons. We have something else. He gestured and another hologram appeared. This one showed billions of tiny machines, smaller than dust. Nano-weapons, said. They can take apart any matter molecule by molecule. We can program them to target specific DNA. We could release them on an alien world and they would kill only the aliens. Every plant, every animal, every human would survive. A counselor from Brazil looked sick. That's genocide. Yes, agreed. It is, but they started this. They killed 12 of ours. They recorded it. They broadcast it as a warning. They wanted the galaxy to fear them. His voice grew cold. We will teach them what fear really means. The vote was called. 50 people voted. 50 people said yes. Project Retribution was fully authorized. General took control of the ground forces. She was younger than most generals, only 40 years old, but she had fought in border wars and peacekeeping missions. She knew how soldiers thought, how they fought, and how they died. I need volunteers, she told her officers. People who understand what we're about to do. We are not going to be heroes in history books. We are going to be killers. We will do dark things so our children can live in light. Every soldier volunteered, every single one. Engineer worked in the shipyards above Earth. He had designed the Reaper-class ships, working from old plans that had been locked away for 50 years. He never thought he would see his designs become real. How many can we build? Asked the production manager. Did the math in his head. If we use every shipyard, every factory, every resource, we can build 5,000 warships in 2 years. We need them in 1 year. Smiled, it was not a happy smile. Then we work faster. The shipyards never slept. Workers came in shifts, 24 hours a day. Robots and humans labored side by side. The orbital space around Earth began to fill with skeletal frames that would become warships. Officer sat in the intelligence center, listening to alien communications. Earth had been secretly monitoring alien radio signals for decades. Now that information became crucial. She found the aliens who had killed the 12. They called themselves They were an empire of warrior insects who believed all other species were prey. They had killed countless others before humans. The massacre of the 12 was entertainment to them, a show of power. Traced their communications back to their home systems. She found their military bases, their colonies, their important leaders. She made a list of targets. The list was very long. Can we win? A young analyst asked her. Looked at the data. They had thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, and controlled dozens of star systems. Humanity had never fought a real space war. Yes, she said, we can win. How can you be sure? Because they think this will be a war, explained. It won't be. Wars have rules, wars have mercy, wars end with treaties. She marked another target on her map. This will be extermination. The first 100 Reaper ships were completed ahead of schedule. They gathered in orbit, dark and silent, waiting for their crews. Each ship needed only 50 people to operate. The AI systems did most of the work. Admiral addressed the fleet from the bridge of the lead ship, Righteous Fury. 10,000 screens across Earth showed his face. Today, we launch the Retribution fleet, he said. We go to find we go to make them pay for what they did. We will not negotiate. We will not show mercy. We will teach the galaxy a lesson that will echo for 1,000 years. He paused, letting his words sink in. Some of you wonder if this is right. Some of you question if we should kill so many for so few. I will tell you this, those 12 people were ours. They were our brothers, our sisters, our children. They were kind and peaceful and good. They died screaming in fear and their killers laughed. His voice grew harder. So yes, we will kill millions. We will destroy worlds. We will make the wish they had never heard of humanity. And when we are done, when their empire is ashes, every species in the galaxy will know one truth. You do not touch humans, ever. The fleet launched. 100 ships left Earth orbit, their engines burning bright against the darkness. They moved in perfect formation, beautiful and deadly. Behind them, 500 more ships were nearly complete. Behind those, thousands more were being built. On Earth, people watched the ships disappear into the distance. Some cried, some cheered, some prayed. Captain stood at the memorial for the 12, watching the launch on his handheld screen. Tears ran down his face. "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you," he whispered to the names carved in stone. "But they will pay. I promise you they will pay." In space, the Retribution fleet activated their quantum drives. Reality bent around them and they vanished. They were going hunting. They did not know what was coming. They sat in their colonies, celebrating their power, thinking they were safe. They had broadcast the massacre to make others fear them. They had succeeded. But they had made humanity fear for the wrong reason. Humanity did not fear Humanity feared what they themselves were about to become. The galaxy was about to change forever. The colony world of Prime looked peaceful from orbit. It was a green planet with 3 moons, covered in cities where 4 million lived and worked. Most of them were civilians, workers, families, children learning in schools. They went about their lives thinking they were safe, protected by the might of their empire. They were wrong. Captain stood on the bridge of righteous fury, watching the planet below. She was 35 years old, calm and focused. She had studied them for months, learning everything about them. She knew their language, their culture, their beliefs. She knew they saw other species as animals to be hunted. She also knew that the 12 humans had been killed by warriors stationed on this world. Those warriors were heroes here, celebrated in parades, given medals. They showed the massacre footage in their schools to teach children about their superiority. "Are we ready?" asked. Her weapons officer checked his display. "All ships in position, targeting systems locked, waiting for your order." Thought about the youngest of the 12 who had sent a final message to her family. She thought about who had just wanted to fix a water pump. She thought about all 12 names. "Open a channel to the planet," she said. The communications officer worked quickly. "Channel open, Captain." Spoke 3 words for the 12. Then she gave the order, "Fire everything." The Retribution fleet opened fire as one. 100 ships, each carrying 500 missiles, launched their weapons simultaneously. 50,000 missiles screamed toward the planet, moving at incredible speed. They detected them immediately. Alarms wailed across Prime. Military bases activated their shields. Soldiers ran to their posts. Fighter ships launched from hangars. They were far too slow. The first wave of missiles hit the military bases. They traveled so fast that they hit with the force of nuclear explosions. Shields that were supposed to be unbreakable shattered like glass. Bases that had stood for centuries became craters in seconds. The attack was so precise that no civilian buildings were touched. Only military targets died in that first wave. The entire strike took 47 seconds. Before they could even understand what was happening, the second phase began. The human ships activated quantum jammers, devices that made all electronic communication impossible. Every radio, every computer, every weapon system on the planet went dark. They were suddenly blind and deaf. In the capital city, the government tried to send for help. Their messages went nowhere. They tried to activate planetary shields. Nothing worked. They tried to contact their fleet in orbit. Silence. Then came the third phase. From the human ships, thousands of tiny canisters fell toward the planet. They entered the atmosphere and broke apart, releasing clouds of nanomachines. These machines were so small they could not be seen, but there were trillions of them. They spread through the air like invisible fog. The nanomachines had been programmed with DNA. They knew exactly what to look for. A worker was walking home when the cloud reached her. She took a breath and fell down. It did not hurt. The machine simply turned off her brain like flipping a switch. She was dead before she hit the ground. Across the planet, 4 million took their last breath. In schools, in homes, in streets, they simply stopped. Parents died holding their children. Children died holding toys. Workers died at their jobs. It took 4 hours for every on the planet to die. The human fleet watched from orbit. Some of the crew felt sick. Some cried. Some stared at their screens with empty eyes. They had just killed 4 million living beings. But Captain felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "Record everything," she ordered. "Every city, every street, every body. Make it clear what happened here." Officer worked quickly from the intelligence ship. She put together footage of the dead planet, edited it carefully, and added something important: side-by-side footage. On one side, the massacre of the 12 humans. On the other side, the dead cities of Prime. At the end, she added a message in the language. "We remember, we counted, we will not stop. You killed 12 of ours. We killed 4 million of yours. This is only the beginning. This is what happens when you hurt humanity." The broadcast went out to every corner of space. It also went to every other alien species in the galaxy, made sure everyone would see it. In the capital world, the High Command watched the broadcast in their war room. They saw their colony world dead. They saw the human ship still in orbit. They saw the message. One of the commanders laughed. "They got lucky. One surprise attack means nothing. We have 500 war fleets. We will crush these weak mammals." The Supreme Commander was not so sure. "They killed 4 million in 4 hours, with only 100 ships. So we send 1,000 ships. We send 10,000. We burn there to ash." The Supreme Commander gave the order. The Grand Fleet was assembled, 500 warships, the pride of the military. These were massive vessels, each one carrying 10,000 soldiers. They had conquered dozens of species. They had never been defeated. They set course for human space. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other species watched the footage from Prime. In the Galactic Union, a place where different species met to discuss peace, the representatives gathered in emergency session. "This is genocide," said the ambassador. "The humans must be stopped." "The started it," said the representative. "They killed humans first. 12 deaths do not justify 4 million. "Then what number would be fair?" they asked. 1 million, 1,000. How many humans need to die before others are allowed to fight back? The argument went on for hours. Some species wanted to help others wanted to stay neutral. A few quietly began preparing to help humanity if asked. On Earth, the Council received the reports from Prime. Admiral stood before them, his face grim. "The first strike is complete," he reported. "Prime remains untouched. We expect their military to respond soon." "How soon?" asked the Council leader. "Within days. Our intelligence says they are gathering a massive fleet." "Can we defeat them?" Smiled, it was a cold, hard smile. "They are sending 500 ships. We have built 1,000 more since the Retribution fleet launched. Yes, we can defeat them. We will defeat them." The council leader looked tired. "How many will die?" "All of them if they do not surrender." Back on Prime, the human ships prepared to leave. Engineer, watching from Earth, had sent new orders. The ships activated a final weapon: orbital markers. These were satellites that would orbit the dead planet forever, broadcasting what happened here. Any ship that came near Prime would receive the message. This world died because they killed 12 humans. This is what humanity does to its enemies. Stay away. Captain watched the planet one last time. From space, it looked beautiful, green and blue and peaceful. You could not see the millions of dead bodies from up here. Set course for the next target, she ordered. Her crew looked at her. Next target, someone asked. They have 19 colony worlds, said. We've only hit one. We have 18 more to visit. The fleet activated their quantum drives and vanished. Far away in a small apartment on Earth's mother received a message. It contained footage of Prime and a note. The who killed your daughter are dead. We have started to make them pay. We will not stop until they understand the cost of harming humanity. She cried for hours, not from sadness, not from joy, from something complicated that had no name. Across human space, millions of people watched the footage. Some celebrated, some protested, some simply felt hollow inside. But everyone understood one thing. Humanity had changed. The peaceful species that explored the stars with open hands had closed its fists. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. 8 months had passed since Prime died. The war had spread across 3 sectors of space. Everywhere that had colonies, human ships appeared. Everywhere that had military bases, death followed. The Retribution fleet was no longer alone. Behind it came the Second Fleet with 500 ships, then the Third Fleet with 1,200 ships. And behind them, something that made even humans uncomfortable, the Fourth Fleet. The Fourth Fleet consisted of 3,000 ships with no crews. They were controlled by artificial intelligence, machines that could think and fight without human emotion or hesitation. They never slept, never doubted, never stopped. Admiral commanded all the fleets from his flagship. He had aged in these 8 months. His hair had gone completely white. He slept only 3 hours a day, and even then, he dreamed of burning worlds. Status report, he ordered. Officer pulled up the data. We have destroyed 14 colony worlds. Military casualties, 8.7 million. Civilian casualties, 23.4 million. Fleet strength reduced by 60%. Nodded slowly, and our losses? 4,327. The numbers hung in the air. Humanity was winning, but the cost was growing. Not in human lives, but in something harder to measure. Every soldier who pushed the button to kill 1 million beings carried that weight forever. The Grand Fleet is moving, continued. 500 ships heading toward the nebula. They think we will follow them there. They are right, said. Prepare the Second Fleet for combat. It's time to end their military. The nebula was a cloud of gas and dust where sensors did not work well. They had set up an ambush there, hiding their fleet in the thick clouds. They waited for the humans to come. The Second Fleet, 500 ships strong, entered the nebula slowly. Admiral commanded from his ship far behind, watching everything. They sprung their trap. 500 warships emerged from the clouds surrounding the human fleet. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. Missiles filled space. The commanders smiled. They had the humans surrounded. They had superior numbers. Victory was certain. Then reality bent. The entire Second Fleet vanished. One moment they were there, the next they were gone. The weapons hit nothing but empty space. Before they could understand, the human ships reappeared. But now they were inside the formation, right in the middle of their fleet. The quantum displacement drives had moved all 500 human ships instantly. Now they were surrounded by ships on all sides. This should have been a death sentence. It was, but not for the humans. Fire, ordered from his distant command ship. The human fleet opened fire at point-blank range. At this distance, shields meant nothing. Armor meant nothing. The ships simply exploded, torn apart by weapons too close to miss. The battle lasted 6 minutes. When it was over, 500 warships were destroyed, every single one. The Second Fleet lost only 9 ships. The remaining military commanders watched in horror from their bases. Their grand fleet, their pride, their power was gone, destroyed in 6 minutes by an enemy they had thought was weak. Across space, panic began. General led the ground operations. She was in charge of the worlds that needed special attention. One of these was, or, a breeding world where they raised their young. 15 million lived there, most of them families. "We should avoid this one of her officers suggested. "It's mostly civilians, mostly children." Looked at the data. Did they avoid killing human children when they attacked our colonies? Did they show mercy to who was only 22, who wanted to grow gardens? The officer had no answer. "No," said, "they showed no mercy. We will show them the same." But she would not land troops there. She would not make her soldiers fight children. Instead, she gave a different order. 3 asteroids were selected. Each one was massive, miles wide. Engineer had designed engines that could move such rocks. The asteroids were pushed onto a collision course with ore. The on the planet saw the asteroids coming. They had 3 days to evacuate. They scrambled to their ships trying to escape. Some made it, most did not. The asteroids hit one after another. The impacts were so powerful that the planet's crust cracked. Volcanoes erupted across the surface. The atmosphere caught fire. Within a day, or became a burning hell where nothing could live. 15 million died, some in the impacts, some in the fires, some in the weeks after slowly as their world died around them. Watched from orbit, she felt nothing. She had learned to turn off that part of herself. Back on Earth, Engineer was working on something new. He called them judgment spheres. They were automated weapon platforms, each the size of a small building, covered in weapons. They could be deployed around a planet and would destroy anything that moved on the surface. "How many can we build?" asked the production supervisor. "As many as needed," replied. "The factories are running at full capacity. We can produce 10,000 per month." "What will we do with 10,000 weapon platforms?" Looked at his screens showing maps of space. "We will place them around every world. If they try to rebuild, the spheres will stop them. If they try to fight, the spheres will kill them. There will be prisoners on their own planets, forever watched, forever controlled." The supervisor looked uncomfortable. "That seems excessive." "They broadcast the murder of 12 humans as entertainment," said quietly. "I think it is appropriate." In the Galactic Union, humanity sent a diplomat. His name was, and he had been a teacher before the war. Now he stood before hundreds of alien species and spoke for all of humanity. "You ask us to stop," he said. "You tell us we have gone too far. You say that our response is not proportional to what they did." The alien representatives nodded. This was their argument. Continued. "You all received the broadcast. You all saw 12 humans murdered for fun. You all saw the laugh as they killed. And what did you do?" Silence. "Nothing," said. "You did absolutely nothing. You did not condemn you did not send help. You did not even say it was wrong. You watched humans die and you looked away." An alien from the species stood up. "That was a matter between your species and theirs. We do not interfere." "But now you want to interfere," said. "Now that we are winning, now that we are making the pay, suddenly you care. Where was your care when our people died?" He let that sink in. "We will stop when they no longer exist as a military threat. We will stop when every species in this galaxy understands that humanity protects its own. We will stop when we have killed enough of them to honor our dead. Not before." The Galactic Union tried to vote on sanctions against humanity. The vote failed. Too many species secretly agreed with the humans. Too many species had their own stories of violence. The Union fractured. Some species declared neutrality. Others quietly offered to help humanity. A few sided with but they were very quiet about it, afraid of becoming targets themselves. The war continued. Officer updated her count every day. Military deaths, 47 million. Civilian deaths, 31 million. Worlds destroyed, 27. The numbers kept growing. When will it end? A young analyst asked her. Looked at her screens showing the location of the soon, she said. Very soon. The final order came from Admiral. All fleets set course for Prime. It's time to finish this. 5,000 human warships began moving toward the. It would be the largest battle in galactic history. And it would be the last. Prime hung in space like a jewel. It was a beautiful world covered in towering cities of crystal and metal. 200 million lived there, the last large population of their species. Around the planet, 16,000 warships waited. Every ship that had left, every soldier still alive, every weapon still working. This was their final stand. Admiral watched from the bridge of righteous fury. His fleet of 5,000 ships spread out in formation, facing the defenders. 14 months had passed since the massacre of the 12. 14 months of war, death, and destruction. Open a channel to the planet, ordered. The communications officer worked quickly. Channel open, Admiral. Spoke clearly, knowing his words would be heard by billions across the galaxy. High Command, this is Admiral of the Terran Retribution Fleet. I offer you terms of surrender. You have 1 hour to decide. On the surface of Prime, the High Command gathered in their war room. They looked old and tired. Most of them had lost family in the human attacks. They knew their empire was dying. What are his terms? Asked the Supreme Commander. His voice continued. Surrender your entire military, dismantle every weapon, submit to human oversight of your worlds, execute those responsible for the massacre of our 12 people. These are the terms. Accept them or we will destroy you. The commanders looked at each other. One of them laughed bitterly. Execute ourselves, surrender our pride, never. We have 16,000 ships, another said. They have only 5,000, we can win. The Supreme Commander was not so sure. He had watched the war. He had seen human weapons destroy entire fleets in minutes, but he was, and they did not surrender. We fight, he declared. Signal all ships, prepare for battle. The hour passed, no surrender came. They have made their choice, said. His face was hard as stone. Activate the Sundra platforms. Around the human fleet, massive devices came to life. They had been built in secret, the most powerful weapons humanity had ever created. Engineer had designed them based on theories that other scientists said were impossible. They could tear apart the fabric of space itself. The fleet charged forward. 16,000 ships, their engines burning bright, weapons ready. They came in waves, trying to overwhelm the human fleet with numbers. Admiral waited until they were close. Then he gave the order, fire all Sundra platforms. 97 devices activated at once. Space itself seemed to scream. Reality bent and twisted. In the areas where the Sunderers fired, physics stopped working normally. The ships did not explode. They simply stopped existing. One moment they were charging forward, the next they were gone, torn apart at the atomic level, scattered into nothing. Thousands of ships vanished in seconds. The remaining ships tried to retreat, but the Sunderer fields expanded, catching them. One by one, the warships disappeared. Soldiers who had fought for their empire all their lives died without even knowing what happened. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, the fleet was gone. All 16,000 ships, all the soldiers, all the hope. 23 human ships were lost, caught in the edges of the Sunderer fields. It was the highest single loss humanity had suffered in any battle. On Prime, the High Command watched their fleet disappear. The Supreme Commander stood at the window, looking up at the sky where his ships had been. Tears ran down his insect face. "What have we done?" he whispered. "What have we done?" General led the landing force. 50,000 human soldiers descended to the planet's surface. They expected resistance. They expected fighting. They expected to die taking the capital. Instead, they found the gates open. The government waited in the main square on their knees, without weapons. The Supreme Commander was at the front. Behind him, the 12 warriors who had killed the humans on the dawn stood chained and silent. "We surrender," the Supreme Commander said in broken human language. "Please, no more death, no more." Captain had been given special permission to be there. He walked forward slowly, looking at the 12 warriors. They looked at him with their insect eyes, emotionless and cold. "These are the ones who killed your people," the Supreme Commander said. "You may do with them as you wish." Stared at them for a long time. He thought about and all the others. He thought about watching them die on the security screens, helpless to save them. "There will be a trial," he said finally. "A proper trial. Then they will be executed. The galaxy will watch." The trial took place on Earth. It was broadcast to every world, every species. The 12 warriors were shown the footage of what they had done. They were asked if they regretted it. None of them showed remorse. They believed they had been right. They had been following culture, beliefs. It did not matter. The verdict was unanimous: guilty. The executions were quick and clean. No torture, no suffering, just justice. Officer prepared the final broadcast. She compiled all the numbers, all the data, all the footage from 14 months of war. Total military killed, 47 million. Total civilians killed, 32 million. Worlds destroyed or evacuated, 27. Total deaths, 79 million. For 12 humans, humanity had killed 79 million and shattered their civilization. The broadcast went out across the galaxy with a simple message. This is what happens when you kill humans. Remember these numbers. Remember what we are capable of. We are not conquerors. We are not cruel, but we protect our own and we never forget. The Galactic Union reformed. The old council was dissolved. A new one was created, and humanity was given a permanent seat with special powers. The other species agreed quickly. No one wanted to argue with humanity. The Terra Accords were signed by 147 species. The rules were simple. No species would attack humans. No species would target human civilians, and humanity could respond to any threat with whatever force they deemed necessary. Some species called it unfair, most called it wise. They were placed under human administration. Their military was permanently disbanded. Their weapons were destroyed. Their worlds were allowed to rebuild, but under human supervision. They would exist as a reminder. 50 years passed. The Dawn had been recovered and restored. It orbited Earth as a museum. In the hydroponics bay, where 12 people had died, a memorial stood. 12 names carved in stone. Minu, and every day thousands of people visited. They left flowers, they said prayers, they remembered. A young cadet named stood before the memorial. He was the grandson of the engineer who had died trying to fix a water pump. Beside him stood his instructor, Captain. "Why did we kill so many?" asked. "Was it right, 79 million for 12? Looked at the memorial. She had been a child when the war happened. She had grown up in a galaxy that feared and respected humanity in equal measure. "I don't know if it was right," she said honestly, "but I know why we did it. Those 12 were ours. They were innocent and kind and good. They died because we chose peace, and others mistook that for weakness." "And now?" asked. "Now everyone knows what we are," said. "We are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. We have weapons that can destroy worlds. We have ships that can appear anywhere. We have the will to do terrible things if we must." She paused. "And that knowledge keeps the peace." Looked at his grandfather's name. "I wish I could have met him." "He would be proud of you," said. "He would be proud that you live in a galaxy where humans are safe, where no one dares to hurt us." "Because they fear us." "Yes," agreed, "because they fear us. Is that wrong?" "Thought about it?" "No," he said finally. better to be feared than dead. They stood in silence, honoring the 12. Across the galaxy, humanity continued to explore, to build, to create. But now they did so with warships in orbit around every colony. They did so with weapon platforms protecting every station. They did so with fleets ready to respond to any threat. The kindness was still there. Humans still helped other species, still shared technology, still worked for peace. But now everyone understood. Humanity's kindness had limits. Cross those limits and face extinction. The galaxy learned. The galaxy remembered. And the galaxy was at peace, maintained by the memory of what happened when someone killed 12 humans. In the memorial on the dawn, an inscription below the 12 names read, "They thought we were prey. They learned we are predators who chose civilization. They learned that our mercy has boundaries. They learned that humanity, once provoked, cannot be stopped. Let all who visit here remember, we are peaceful because we choose to be, not because we must be." A child visiting with her parents read the inscription and asked, "Will we ever have to fight like that again?" Her mother looked at the memorial, at the names of 12 people who had died so long ago. "I hope not," she said. "But if we do, the galaxy will remember what happened the last time someone hurt us." The child nodded, understanding something important. Humanity was safe not because they were weak, but because they had proven how strong they could be. The stars shone through the window of the memorial, peaceful, quiet, beautiful. And somewhere in the darkness, the human fleets patrolled, eternal guardians, making sure the peace continued. The galaxy had learned its lesson, and it would not forget.